Welcome to Open Mic from Modalis Infrastructure Partners, where aviation talks and the world listens. From global airport and aviation developments to disruptive technology, airport investment, and much more, we unpack the trends, technologies, challenges, and opportunities shaping the global aviation industry. Now here's your host, Curtis Grad.
Welcome to our very first Modalis airportIR podcast. My first guest is Athanasios Titonis. You've been in Cebu for a while. We're going to talk a little bit about that in a minute. But Athanasios, I was going to start this interview trying to hear a little bit more about your background, but I think we have to start with the obvious one. You woke up with a bit of a shake and a rattle a couple nights ago. So maybe start with a brief hello and tell us about your experience with the earthquake on Cebu Island a few days ago.
Thank you very much, Curtis. Yeah, that was a quite interesting situation. So I have to admit it was my first earthquake crisis management. I haven't done that before, luckily. It was a pretty good outcome. So nothing happened serious. The center was not in Cebu at the airport. It was at the north of the Cebu Island, which was in our advantage. However, to make a long story short, all of us went immediately to the airport. Crisis management worked pretty good. We spent all the night at the airport, and the team evacuated immediately the terminals, both of them. And we closed the operation for about 2 hours until we were sure everything is fine. So, and I have to say, in crisis, it's always, you can have always the best manuals. At the end of the day, the people count, right? And they did a great job. For example, evacuating the terminal means that we planned not to have a full operation. Yeah, in our manuals, I give a very specific, but we had landing aircraft, which was not in our manuals. Yeah, what our team did, they just brought them via the bus, domestic, right? Inbound travelers out of the building, out of the airport area. They created new procedures within a half an hour to keep the operation ongoing. And I think that's the secret of success, that you have good people running the show. No structural damages, nothing serious at the airport.
Well, no, that's great to hear. And it's, I've been through a few crises of my own, including hurricanes and evacuations, things of that nature. And you always learn a little bit from each one of them for sure. And I guess the one thing that is unique about your terminal, the new one, is that laminated timber structure. And I would have to think that's probably one of the most resilient buildings in the Philippines.
Yeah. Just to make it clear, Terminal 2 had nothing. Really, zero, nothing. So which shows how good this terminal is. And our previous owners here, GMR, did McAwhite did a pretty good job here regarding that building. And even the Terminal 1 had not really something. And you're right. So as my friends used to say, hey, if you have an earthquake, go to the airport. It's the safest place, right?
Well, you've got the backup power, and the buildings are generally built for that kind of tectonic stress, and that is a pretty remarkable building too. That I had the opportunity to see it a few years back when we attended a conference there, and it's beautiful. It's quite open and spacious, but it looks like it's quite a high performing building in terms of operations as well.
It is a wonderful building, and it's a high performance building as well. But there are some operational efficiencies which we can increase in this building. The beauty of a terminal versus the efficiency of the terminal, right? This is something which needs to be, it has to have the right balance, right? And there's some potential. There's efficiency-wise, we have some potential.
Oh, that's great. And with every terminal, there's form and function, and sometimes they don't always get it right. But sounds like you're somewhere in the middle, which is good to hear. Now that we've covered your emergency plan, that's been very well exercised over the last couple of days, maybe we can get back on track to talk a little bit about your background. And I guess we met a few years back when you were in Ras Al Khaimah, but you've got a long storied history, and maybe you just tell us a little bit about where you started and how you ended up in Cebu.
I'm an operational guy. Yeah, I grew up in operation. So I started my career as a student doing the check-in manually at that time for German leisure carrier LTU. It doesn't exist anymore. Several people in the aviation industry had different ideas what I could do, but the chance was in the aviation industry. They offered me, this thing what doesn't exist that much anymore, which is the station manager of an airline. In these good old days, the station manager had really big responsibility at the airport. So that's why I decided, I studied political science, by the way, and I decided, no, I like that. As you can imagine, my parents didn't agree really on that idea. However, this is the way I started, and I developed myself really in operational areas. I worked for the ground handling. We worked for the traffic part of our business. I went then to a tour operator as well. Yeah, I worked for a tour operator, and then I ended up at the airport at several departments. Yeah, later on, I got the chance really to learn commercial route development. I have an anecdote which I usually like to say. Long time ago, but my colleague from Frankfurt, Krapo, there was a conference 20 years ago, and he said, the airports are malls with a runway, yeah, which I didn't like at that time. But I learned he was right. I don't agree 100%, but I agree on that we are developing our business in a different area. So what happened with me? I moved then to a very interesting project in Saudi Arabia. I worked for Cologne almost 12, 13 years. And that was a pretty good, interesting project because we cooperated at the airport. We integrated two other airports in Dammam, two smaller airports, Khartoum and Gaizuma. And I integrated two airports in one organization. And the second one, we were looking for concessions. Yeah, that was my first contact working with concessions. After that, that was a very interesting project going to Ras Al Khaimah at that time. Ras Al Khaimah is a small emirate in UAE. And at that time, I couldn't disclose why I'm doing that, because everyone was surprised in my network. What is Athanasios doing in a 500,000 airport? Why he wants to go there? So I couldn't disclose that Ras Al Khaimah was planning to have a casino, the first casino in the Middle East, right? Looking for an international airport operator to take over the concession and to run the terminal, build and run the terminal. So that was a very good project, which I liked a lot at that time. Funny thing, I talked to all the operators, those which I know pretty good from Fraport or Aegis, Dublin, and without to disclose that we will have the casino very soon, they were not really interested. Yeah, they were kind of, okay, Athanasios, we like you, it's nice to work with you, but honestly, why we should run a 500,000 airport? Yeah. When we disclosed the casino and our plans, yeah, you can imagine what happened. Everyone was calling me. So can we meet next week? Can we go? We want to participate in this tender. That was a funny thing, which I liked. It was good for my ego, by the way, as well. And at that time, yeah, I wasn't really planning to move to another place, but yeah, Curtis, you called me. Yeah, long story short, right?
Yeah.
So, and as you remember, at the beginning, it was a kind of, but do you think makes sense or not? And I think there were two things which I thought at that time that it's quite interesting, and, challenges is that what we like, right? One was that Aboitiz is creating, it's a new entry in the aviation business, airport business is specific, yeah? So they're building up this organization or this business from the scratch. The second was the potential of Philippines, yeah? Huge market, interesting market, and everything will be privatized or is under privatization right now. That was the two big challenges. And finally, after the first calls with Aboitiz, I like the values, yeah, business ethics wise, for example. pretty similar to my values. And that was the reason why I thought, okay, that might be interesting project.
So that's been an interesting journey for you over the last 2.5 years. I guess it's been roughly that, Athanasios. But since joining the Aboitiz Cebu team, you've seen a lot of change already. Restructuring of your shareholding, some change management, and going through what is now a new relationship with a new investor as well. So maybe not everything you can talk about, but be interested to hear what that journey's been like over the last 2.5 years in terms of these major sort of change elements.
I saw in Cebu a huge potential for the tourism development in the Philippines. Why I'm saying that, Cebu is the second biggest airport in Philippines. The main airport is Manila. All the tourism entrance in Philippines is going by Manila. Without to talk about our competition in Manila, we saw the potential in Cebu to develop a hub in Cebu to fly via Cebu to the other islands of Philippines. So that's why we created 3 projects here, business-wise. One was for that. Our new product is Cebu Connects. Our vision is to be the main gateway for tourism in the Philippines. Whoever is flying to Philippines, we want him to go via Cebu to all the islands, because we are the center of Cebu, of Philippines. Our frequencies and our connectivities, it's around 30 destinations in Philippines. And we created operational new product as well. So we have it's not rocket science, all the airports having that, but it doesn't exist in Philippines, that you go air to air. So our minimum connecting time reduced D to D to 35 minutes, which is pretty great. And officially the airlines are going with 45, but we are pushing for 35. The minimum connecting time for I to D is 60 minutes, and we can do it in 45 minutes easy. So the idea is via Cebu from Korea to all the other beautiful islands, Philippines. That was the first product which we developed. The second product which we developed, and by the way, we are achieving this year around 600,000 additional transfer passengers, which is a great big success. Second product is our Cebu Plus. We have a deal with a company nearby the airport. 5 minutes bus travel. We have a small port, which you get a ferry boat to the other islands. So to make a long story short, we are going to connect all the islands around us, either with the aircraft, max one, let me say block time 60 minutes, or with the ferry boat, max to 4 hours. And this is opening us a huge market, and we get a big piece of cake from Manila. And the final product is, if you ever look, there are Filipinos all over the world. We have around 4 million in our catchment area working all over the world, and they have to go via Manila to come back to Philippines. With our support of Aboitiz, Aboitiz Group, we are going to change that as well. So bringing the government entities in Cebu so that we will have a better product and an easier process for the Filipinos, laborers outside of Philippines. So this is the strategy, what we're working on. We have the first successes this year. And we are going, and the next 2 years, we have a clear plan where we want to head. Going back to the Aboitiz topic, you can imagine having a big shareholder like Aboitiz in our group. That gives us a big chance, let me say, to do the political engineering, to develop the airport. We have Aboitiz Power, we have Aboitiz Construction. There are several entities which will give us a big opportunity for the future to develop all our airports.
With the Connect service, with the marine connection to the islands, is that a single ticket journey, or are you looking at separate tickets?
It will be a single ticket service. It's not there. We are doing that. We are talking right now to the Korean carriers to have it a single ticket service. And we are talking to the, let me say, the airsides, door hops, Kiwis as well, to have an interline agreement between 2 carriers which we are not working together. This is the next steps what we are doing now.
Well, that's fantastic. As you know, there's a number of sort of intermodal examples. Like you've got that in Hong Kong where you go from air to sea. And the other one I remember from years ago was flying into Paris, and my next flight, unbeknownst to me, was a train to Brussels, right? But it was all on a single ticket, and you even got your frequent flyer miles on Air France on the train. So it's really, I think, where we need to go, this interconnectivity and this multimodal connecting rather than modes competing against each other. They should be seamless. So sounds like a great initiative.
I didn't know that with Paris and Brussels. That's very interesting. Maybe I can give you one example from my past in Germany, in Cologne. So if you see the route development in Cologne, the domestic, right? At that time, that was in the beginning 2010, we lost connectivities to the train, the high-speed trains, right? No Stuttgart, no Frankfurt for sure. So, and the next one, which we're going to lose, Brussels, we lost Brussels. And that was the moment when I realized, okay, you cannot compete against them, no chance. Because we did a survey, yeah, to understand why, because they're not much cheaper sometimes with the low-cost business, yeah, the high-speed trains. But it's the frequency and the flexibility for the passenger to take those trains. Because, you know, you can change a train easily, but you cannot do that on the flight. So that's why we created a product like that, what you said, but not that enhanced to have two airports, different airports with connectivity. That's quite interesting.
So maybe just stepping back into, you were talking a little bit about your shareholding, and you mentioned Megawide and GMR, and they did a phenomenal job of securing that concession and launching it several years back. And there has been a buy-in and a buy-up by Aboitiz, and maybe you can just spend a few minutes talking about that transition and then this new relationship with GIP that seems to be emerging.
That's a very interesting situation. So when we came in, Megawide and GMR did a great job here, developing this airport, building the new terminal. There was a transition period, or still ongoing this transition period with GMR. We have still GMR advisors here, but formally the transition within the concession ends in 26. So imagine now we are getting in GIP, most likely. It's not closed. We are your due diligence phase. GIP is doing the due diligence. So we will have another international player in this group, yeah, which we are creating here. How it works? Let me start with GMR Megawide. The interesting thing here is we have two companies from two cultures, yeah, working together on the same product, and that worked pretty good. Even though sometimes we agree to disagree, based on the respect which we have each other, it works pretty good. Now we need to rethink the whole thing with GIP. But for me personally, you know, at the end of the day, you know, every executive has to do one thing everywhere. It's to understand his shareholder needs and the shareholder goals really behind the scene, right? What they are looking for, and then to work on that, right? In this case, it's pretty easy. GMR wanted to close the activity here in Cebu successful after 10 years. So I'm supporting that. And Aboitiz wants to develop a new product and to be a new player in this business in the Philippines and hopefully in the world in the future. And I'm working on that as well.
So Athanasios, you know, with the settling into the new job in Cebu, that was a pretty, I don't know if it was smooth, but you've obviously got that major step behind you now, and now you're looking at setting sights on a couple of regional airports in the Philippines that Aboitiz has secured a concession on. So tell us about how that's been going.
Yeah, thanks, Curtis. It's a quite interesting challenge. Just to give an overview about the airports first. One is Laguindingan, CGY, 2.5 million around domestic travelers, domestic passengers. The other one is Bohol, TAG. It's a tourism airport, same size, 2.5 million. And we have both airports since July this year. It's a quite interesting challenge because what we are doing, we are creating first Philippines airport group. Yeah, it's a platform what we're doing here.
Yeah.
And we decided to run all the 3 airports out of Cebu now. And the interesting thing is we are not running only these 3 airports. We are preparing ourselves to run more airports in Philippines. You know that Philippines is privatizing several airports. The government has a clear plan for the next 2-3 years. And our group wants to grow in this business. And not only in Philippines, we are thinking international as well. It's a quite interesting job because you don't have only the transition from government-run airports to a privatized airport. You're at the same time including them in a platform which we are just right now creating.
Yeah, you're laying down a railroad while the train's rolling, right?
Yeah, exactly. Good picture. So, but I have to say it's going pretty good. We don't need a marketing and airline marketing in all the 3 airports. We need only one. We don't need finance in every airport. All the shared services will be run out of Cebu. But we need for every airport asset-wise the operation. And this is our biggest challenge, right? Creating a compliant operation in every single airport. And but it goes good. It's quite we have good people there. So we want to close it by end of the year. I'm very confident at the end of the year the group will be ready. And as always, it's not the formalities, the legal topics, it's the people. Because to bring the people together to feel as a group, this is our biggest challenge, is a change management. For example, next Monday, we'll meet all of us together and have just a nice event. Yeah, to bring the people together, to start sharing experience, to create friendships as well. You know, airport operations, you create always friends. The daily business, running prices, you create friends. So this is what we're building up now.
Yeah, and that transition, it's always the interesting part because people, they're facing something new and unknown, and particularly government-run airports, and everybody's got a little bit of trepidation going in. But I've certainly found from the experience in the airports that I've been involved in is once you get people comfortable and they realize that they were going to be able to contribute, it really starts to flow quickly because people have had this opportunity or have not had the opportunity to really have input a lot of times, and these transitions or transformations allow them to be part of something pretty special at the beginning, and they'll be the ones to inherit these roles and the airport successes going forward. We as expats are there for a short time, and the local talent's there for the long term. So interesting times for sure, right?
Absolutely. And that's a good thing what you said with the talents, because our people are amazed because we need more and more talents in the future. Yeah. So we have already people in Cebu asking, can I go to Bohol? Because my family, I'm originally coming from Bohol.
Yeah, that's right.
That's right. And we are developing a pool of people now to run all those airports because there's more to come.
Well, and that's the beauty behind a platform, particularly in one country. When you've got a bigger airport like Cebu and 2 smaller ones, some of those people from the bigger airport can bring some tremendous knowledge and experience to the smaller airports, and at the same time, some of those people from the smaller airports coming to Cebu get to see something in a completely different scale, and it becomes quite a collegial approach as well because you're all sort of in the same game, right?
Good point. Let me give you an example on that. Not exactly with a regulator, but one of the airport, Bohol, will be our technology innovation airport. Why that? Just because it's smaller, you can test all the new products first in a smaller airport. But second, it's a Korean traveler airport. 600,000 passengers are from Korea. Yeah.
Okay.
And those tourists, they like technologies a lot. They love technologies. Right? So, and we thought, okay, that fits. Yeah, we talked to the airlines and they are really amazed, and we want to develop a couple of things, especially with the AI. We have one project now, AI in operations, which we are going to roll out end of the year in Bohol.
Fantastic. We talked a little bit about some of these other projects, including the one in Europe. but I'd like to hear your craziest story. But there must be one that sticks out in your mind.
Curtis, I think all of us, we have a lot of crazy stories, right? Which we used to tell each other when we have a drink at the bar sometimes, right?
Mhm.
But let me.
Yeah, well, we'll keep this one clean, please. Right.
Yeah. Let me think. I think one story which is pretty funny. You know, in Cologne, we were a cargo airport, right? And not only cargo, express cargo airport, but we had general cargo as well. And you know, there is a competition in Aachen, a very famous. I don't know how to say that, horse competition, right? Riding horses, right? I don't know. There's a specific name. I don't remember.
Equestrian, yes.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
So, and you know, those horses are very valuable, right? They're very expensive. Yeah. So, imagine what happened. We lost one during the offload of the aircraft. Yeah. It ran away. It ran away. Okay, some people did mistakes. You know how it is. It's always a chain of failures. So it ran away. And what we had to do, we had to close the airport for almost 4 hours because we didn't know where it is. It could be on the runway.
And they're pretty high strung, and when they're stressed, it's even worse, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And imagine now a horse running over the airfield, you don't know where it is. And that was 20 years ago when we didn't have the technologies easy to find with drones or whatever. So we closed the airport, and yeah, it was, now it's funny. Now I'm laughing. But at that time, the next morning in the news, it was embarrassing. Colombo Airport had to close for 4 hours because they had horses on the runway. Right? that was a kind of, yeah, now it's funny. Yeah, I'm laughing. But at that time, you know, UPS, 35 white bodies on the ground, delayed, all of them. It was quite expensive for them.
Well, I along the same theme, in one of the first airports I managed in Canada, it was a lot of farms nearby, and a herd of 35 cattle ended up on the airport. And you know, it's one of these things, you learn all these things in university and through practical training, and you think, well, the things I learned as a kid on a farm in Saskatchewan will have no value for what I'm doing. And it turns out I was able to teach RCMP police officers how to herd cattle off an airport in police cruisers. It was quite remarkable. And that night, being able to call my father and say, "Hey, guess what? That stuff you taught me when I was a kid about herding cattle, I used it today." So you just never know where the skill is going to come in an airport or an experience. So yeah, that's crazy. And another little known fact that you may not have realized, that I grew up as a cowboy. I was,
really?
we lived, we had,
I
I think my father had somewhere in the order of 150 horses at one time. So yeah, here I am,
Oh, okay.
from a cowboy to a pilot. There you go, right?
So you should have been with me at that time. You would tell, we
Well,
will take another horse and find the lost horse, right?
yeah, if you have any herds in your airport, give me a call. Horses, cows,
I
whatever.
call him.
Okay,
We'll
sounds good. So we've all had memorable projects, and the ones that were a point of pride in terms of team building and accomplishing something quite exceptional in these very challenging team environments. And I'm sure you've got plenty of examples, but can you think of one that you can share with us that sticks in your mind?
I want to go back a long time first, because I learned a lot out of this experience. My first job in Stuttgart at that time for LTU, you know what we did? Because I studied political science and I worked a lot with surveys. Yeah, we did surveys. I don't know if the program still exists. Is the SPSS? Maybe some people know that, Statistical Package for Social Science. And I thought at that time, because we had you know, you had the sales offices at the airports as well, which you're selling last minute. It doesn't exist that much anymore. So, and at that time, I thought why not asking my passengers and the clients being in this sales area what they are looking for, what they need, and then we just sell that what they need, right? It's a simple question. So and then we did a survey, and I was planned to present it at that time to the CEO of the airline, right? We were behind the time. We had 1 week to go, and we were not ready with entering this data in the program, and then to do the analytics and to do the results.
And to tell the story. Yeah, exactly.
And tell the story and go back to the CEO of this company and tell him, this is the results. So, and then I learned one thing. It's a spirit, Curtis. It's the spirit of the people to get things done. Yeah. So everyone had at that time his first computer at home. Yeah. And we had only 2 at the airport, or 3, I don't remember. And all of us brought their own computers from home. We had 20 computers there in our offices. We asked people to help us, and we did the job in 48 hours, everything. So long story short, that was my first big challenge job-wise, and I learned everything. If you have the right people and they have the right spirit, you can achieve everything. And this is something which I have my whole life. Yeah. So there are more in my life. I can give you much more, but I think this is a very memorable one.
At the end of the day, airports are a people business, and as much technology and everything else that comes to play, you still need the people to get the job done. And you talked a little bit earlier about the technology, but the best technology in the world poorly implemented is not going to be helpful. So knowing those manual processes and being able to go back and understand why technology is required to help us improve efficiency always needs to be tied back ultimately into why you do these things, whether it's passenger reconciliation and weight and balance and all those things. And I guess we're of a certain vintage. I think actually we were born the same year, and we remember the manual processes, but it's going to be interesting in the years to come to see how this digital passenger journey and AI and all these other technologies, even facial recognition, are going to change the business for sure.
Absolutely. Let me give you an example of what we're doing right now. We're doing AI potential analysis in the company. We have a consultant coming in and telling us what we need to change, what we can change, what we can develop, which tools are existing. And all of us, we know AI is at the beginning. We are far away from the potential with this technology will bring us. However, it serves the work. It's for sure there are a lot of efficiencies which we are going to get in the future. But at airport operator, I have to say it will stay a people's business, even though you have the technology to replace them, as long you don't have a standard product, because you have always our irregularities, right? And for that, my experience, you still need to people, not here, the crisis management 2 days ago. Yeah, it's a good example. Yeah, yep. Good people did a great job.
At the end of the day, when everything works smoothly, automation can help. But when you've got irregular operations or crises, that you always need that human intervention. So I don't think we'll be replaced by the robots anytime soon. But certainly looking forward to the technology and the efficiency gains. Okay, Athanasios, something that we've decided to introduce is something called Magic Mirror. It's a way of getting to know you a little bit better. It's meant to be fun, and as I was preparing earlier, it's meant to be a no hesitation, no filter. So I'm going to fire away with 15 questions, and we're going to dig deep into your soul and find out who you are.
Okay. Go ahead.
Here we go. Favorite aircraft, civilian or military, current or historical? What's your favorite aircraft?
747. Boy, 747.
Okay.
Jump.
Okay, perfect.
Beautiful aircraft.
Okay, perfect. Apples or oranges?
Apples. Easy to eat.
Coffee. Okay. Coffee or tea?
Coffee. No question.
100%. Flat or sparkling?
Sparkling. I grew up in Germany. Sparkling.
Okay, of course. Preference, cats or dogs?
Dogs, no question. We have dogs. I love dogs. I grew up with dogs.
100%. Scariest animal?
Crocodile.
Okay.
It's very slow, but it can be very fast and dangerous.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Favorite classic car?
I'm not that much in cars, but let's say BMW, the old one. Yeah,
Okay.
the old ones, BMW.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Perfect. Here's an interesting one. Famous person, living or dead, you'd like to have dinner with.
Oh, that's a very tough one. Jesus.
Ow.
Jesus.
You go
I,
right
I
to
want to ask this guy if he knew what is happening in the world thousands of years after him. If he knew what he's doing. Right? Jesus. I would say
You go right-
Jesus. I would like to meet him.
Yeah, that's going right to the top. That's great. Okay. Well, maybe this is a good segue into the next one. Your greatest fear.
To lose someone of my family. Losing family members. Right? That's my biggest fear. Biggest fear,
Okay.
generally, right?
Of
Losing
course.
family members.
Okay. Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. Well, a little bit lighter now. Favorite dessert.
New York cheesecake. Maybe chocolate.
Okay.
No, New York cheese. Oh, yeah, I stay with New York cheesecake. New York cheesecake.
Okay.
Best. Best.
Okay. 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 Earliest memory.
Kindergarten. Going to the kindergarten as kid, right? Yeah. Kindergarten
Okay.
time. Just walking the way to the kindergarten alone, right? Which was normal in our age, right?
Yeah. That
You
doesn't
walk
happen
alone.
anymore. That doesn't happen
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
Most used app on your phone.
Oh, WhatsApp. Definitely WhatsApp.
Yeah, I'm afraid with that with most of my guests, it's going to be WhatsApp, for sure.
I'm sure it's WhatsApp. But you can
Okay.
check them, right? I need to check them, but I think it's
Yeah,
sure.
absolutely. Favorite movie of all time?
Godfather. It's 12
Of course.
Angry Men, maybe. Yeah, I still with the Godfather. That's a classic. Godfather 1. I would go with 1, not 2 or 3. 1.
No,
Godfather 1.
that's a good one. Okay, this is a difficult one. You get to listen to one song for the rest of your life. What is it? You only get to listen to one.
I like dynamic songs. I was a heavy metal guy, right? I would take Metallica, Master of Puppets. That's power, full power, and I like the power,
No,
right? This is
okay.
running. Yeah, maybe I become crazy after 2 years, right? But I like it.
Okay, well, I'll keep that in mind. The next one is an impossible question, but I'm going to ask it. I'm thinking of a number from
Okay.
1 to 100. What number is it?
52.
No, you were close, but not close enough. Anyway, I don't think anybody's ever going to get that, but I stole these
What is it?
sort of some of these ideas from a certain talk show host, and I've never seen anybody
It's a funny
guess.
question.
Yeah, I've watched him do this about 50 times, and his guests never get it right. This talk show hosts, but everybody tries anyway. But one day somebody will get it.
Okay,
So
okay.
okay, we're almost at the end here. Favorite place you visited?
Grand Canyon. I was young student in US, and this impressive situation, sitting in the Grand Canyon and listening to nothing, really nothing. Maybe
Okay.
some eagles. You heard some. That
Yeah.
was impressive. I still have this memory. It's a wonderful place.
And the wind, right? And
The wind, yeah.
the follow up to that is top bucket list destination.
That's simple. I have to go with 2 because that's my kids. With 1, we go to Kilimanjaro with my son. That's a plan.
Oh, nice.
1 to
Yeah.
climb up the Kilimanjaro with my son. I have to go with 2 with my daughter to Buenos Aires. We want to go
Wow.
to see Buenos Aires and dance tango because I love tango. It's a wonderful dance.
Okay, fantastic.
I go with 2.
And-
I go with 2.
Okay, you're welcome and entitled to 2. Okay, the final question. Your personal mantra and less than 10 words or less.
Enjoy the moment. Enjoy the moment as much as you can.
Yeah, that's good advice. And I think as when we're younger, you never really do, you know. I look back at some of these crazy projects that we worked on, and we worked our asses off, but we should have taken some time to enjoy the things around you and the people around you as well, right?
But even the job things, right? Enjoy the moments, enjoy these things, what you're getting, get in the flow, just go with it. That's something, and that's, you have to celebrate the successes, which we never do, because after the game is before the game. However, right, enjoying the moments, even hard work, it's a wonderful feeling to get things done.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, those are great words to live by. So thank you. That was great. And as always, it's been a pleasure. Take care, my friend, and we'll talk soon.
Thank you very much, Curtis, and thank you for your time, and thank you for your insights. And I'm really thankful to be part of that.
Thanks for joining us on Open Mic. If today's conversation sparked ideas or questions, we'd love to hear from you. Visit airportir.com/open mic to listen to more episodes, connect with our team, and stay informed about the global aviation developments that matter to you.